Hello, everybody. Oh, we're live. It happens quick. Slide over just a little bit. Let's get ourselves together. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. My name is Michelle Garrett, and this is my son, Michael. And we are here tonight to talk about communicating with your teenager. It is interesting. It's a it's a topic that I have heard quite a few of my fellow parents of teens talk about, and they've said that there aren't really a lot of resources out there when it comes to parenting teens. We see all of the conversations that there are about, the newborn stage, the toddler stage, elementary, all of that good stuff. But I think as they get to be a little bit older, they're not as free to want their stuff discussed out there. One of the things about my kids is they're pretty open as well. There's not too many things, that are kind of off limits for us. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not.
Everything's on.
Are you okay with everything being on though?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You said it like you had some angst. You realize you're live, and so everybody can hear this inside conversation that you're having on the outside. That everyone can hear it. So we wanted to come on and just have a conversation and a quick dialogue tonight, and just kind of really talk about how communication works for us, and then also share just maybe some things that maybe could be improved, and perhaps some tips and ideas that you can implement with your teenager. And definitely if there's anything that you see that works for you, or you're like, yep, nope, not going to work, feel free to list that out in the chat. We'll be checking the comments once this live is over as well. So let's, you want to share about our day today?
Let's see.
No, our special start to the morning. Do we want to share about that? We don't want to share about that? It ties into communication.
Right.
So we had a communication snafu this morning. You agree?
I don't know what snafu means.
So a misunderstanding.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I may have been a little, what word would you use,
Pushy.
Michael? Pushy?
Pushy.
You felt
aggressive.
Aggressive?
No, not pushy, aggressive.
Okay. He feels like I was a little aggressive. And so in retaliation.
I didn't retaliate. I don't like talking to people in the morning.
You speak to me every morning. So in retaliation, after our heated discussion, when it was time for him to leave to go to school, he chose to...
I left.
He left, exactly. But normally, when you leave, what do you do? Did you do that today?
No.
So he just walked out the front door. And it took a few minutes for me to realize that he had walked out the front door and not spoken to me. So I opened the front door and let him know that that was not acceptable.
Don't do it tomorrow.
No, you won't. Because I'll be honest with you, like one of my big pet peeves is that I do make sure that when we're leaving the house, that everyone says goodbye to each other, that we speak to each other, let each other know, have a good day, I love you. We don't have to get all mushy and mushy, but at least to just acknowledge that we're no longer going to be in each other's presence, because you never know. And I said it. And I know you thought it was just me being crazy mom with my head spinning around and being mean this morning, but you never know when that time that you walk out the door, that's the last time that you may see somebody. So what if you had left out of here this morning angry with me because of the conversation that we had, and then I keeled over from a heart attack? That would have been the last time. You would have been the last person to have seen me, and you'd have just walked out the door and not talked to me. And you would have had to live with that for the rest of your life.
You had food on the stoves. I would have felt the type of way. House probably would have burned down.
Seriously? I wasn't cooking this morning.
You were?
No.
Okay.
I'm glad to see where his priorities lie.
Well, I mean, there's ramen noodles on the cabinet. So. And I'm hiding pizza rolls too. So.
That's another conversation, son. That's another conversation. So what do you think, as a teenager, what do you think is one of the ways that parents get it wrong when it comes to communicating with their children?
They can be pushy. I'm not saying that you're pushy, but like...
Good save, good save.
No, because you're not, like, because you don't press a lot of things. Oh, you don't press a lot of things, but then a lot of people... Like if you ask how my day is, if I don't say anything besides great or good, they'd be like, okay, that's it. But sometimes people don't want to talk about their day. Like, what if it was just a horrible day? You want to get it over with, and they say it was bad, it was meh. Then they have to talk about their day.
So we expect you all to talk too much?
I don't like talking a lot.
But because we're not around you and because we don't know that you had a bad day, if you don't tell us you had a bad day, then how do we know you had a bad day?
I go to sleep early.
You go to sleep early every day you would go to sleep early every day if I let you. Why do teenagers sleep so much? Let's talk about that. Teenagers sleep all the time.
Because teenagers are supposed to get an average of 10 to 8 hours of sleep every day.
And you probably get about 14 to 16 if I let you.
It's amazing.
So what I'm hearing from you is that parents are pushy and we just want to know all your business. So can I ask this question? So let's see if you can, let's see if we can kind of see this from the other person's perspective. We haven't seen you all day. And we have like this small, limited amount of time that's left with you. And so we want to know what's going on in your life.
I mean,
because you all block us out because you sleep all the time.
I like sleep.
I know, but when you're sleeping all the time or when you are in your own little teenage world, we don't get to hear all of the things that you used to share with us. So like because I have 2 other children. I have a 10-year-old and I have a 7-year-old. And so when they come in, yes, he'll be 11 next month. So when they come in and I ask, how was your day? I get responses. They tell me things and they let me know about all the great things that happen. And so then when we ask teenagers about their day, they don't want to tell us anything.
It's okay. It's good. Not a lot happens.
You were gone for like 10 hours.
I know. And today,
you have to suck up.
Today, a poor girl got beat up today.
See, you told me that. If you're good, we're on camera, so you do have to like enunciate so everybody can hear. Oh, they might not be able to hear us. Can y'all hear us? That's going to be hilarious.
It looked like they could hear us.
I think so. I'm going to take. But
I think they couldn't hear. I mean, I saw the little green thing.
Yeah, it's moving, so they probably can hear us. But okay, so you did tell me about that, and I think that's another conversation that we can have. Just about the I don't want to say violence, but it really is violence.
It was brutal.
Yeah, there was a fight at his high school today during the lunch.
It was horrible. I didn't see it, but I saw a video.
So they put it on social media?
Yeah, so you put it on Instagram. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a whole nother conversation that we'll have to come back and talk about teenagers and social media.
Horrible. You don't put that on social media.
Well, unfortunately, not everybody believes that and feels that way. And so there's going to be a lot of teenagers that they get in their 20s and 30s and they're going to be appalled at the things that their children are going to be able to find about them on social media. But that's a whole nother conversation. So when it comes to communicating, you're saying that parents need to just relax.
Just a little bit.
So would it be asking too much for teenagers to maybe let us in just a little bit more?
No.
Or
I think they should.
Oh, you're gonna like, no, you couldn't let us in.
Oh, yeah. Open the doors a little bit.
So what would be the best way to kind of have us meet in the middle?
Like just like an hour like a lot of teenagers, they have that extra hour off of school, or they come home and there's like that hour of delay before anything really happens. I think that should be spent with family. I at least try sometimes.
You don't. Well, see, he's very busy because with your schedule, he's in drama and they have a play that they're practicing for. So I guess that's the other thing, because you are gone like almost the entire day. So you leave here typically at 7:30 in the morning, and I don't pick you up from school until 6 o'clock, 6:15. So that's almost 12 hours that you are gone. And so then when I say, well, how was your day? And you've been gone for 12 hours and you say, eh.
I mean, a lot of things, a lot of days, nothing really happens. But then there's just those few days that like a lot of stuff happens, like today.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this question then. So here's my other probing question as to when it comes to communicating with teens and parents and all of that good stuff is, how do I want to put this? Where do you, okay, so let me preface this by saying, my kids tell me a lot. Sometimes they tell me too much. Sometimes I feel as though, I know way more than I want to know that goes on within the teenage life. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing, because that means that they feel open, or I feel, so maybe I should be asking this question. Do you feel that you can come and talk to me about anything?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel that, like, if you were to come to me and tell me something that you did or something that you were involved in that may get you in some kind of trouble or something, would you feel like you would keep that away from me? Or
no?
If
I'm in trouble, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something.
Why is that?
Because I don't like being in trouble. I don't.
Okay.
It's weird. Like, let's see. One day I walked out of the store with chapstick, and I walked all the way back. Like, we went to the gas station for food, and I walked all the way back just to put the chapstick back because I felt bad about it.
That's a good thing. You didn't walk out of there on purpose.
No.
Okay.
No, because I didn't know I had it
Gotcha.
until I reached the point. I was like, oh.
So what do you think keeps some kids from having those conversations, those tough conversations with their parents?
They don't like their parents.
Why don't they like their parents?
I don't know.
So what are some of the I wasn't expecting that idea, that response. So what are some of the, like, the friends, not to call anybody's name out or anything like that, but what are some of the reasons why you feel as though they don't care for their parents? Like, what is it that their parents are doing to make them not want to communicate and confide in them?
Well, one of my friends, she always has something to say about her dad. Like, she absolutely despises him. I think it's just because he's overbearing, but he doesn't understand a lot of things. And she'll sit there and rant to the teacher for like an hour straight about something that he did. It's at least 3 times a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, she's a junior.
Okay. So what could the dad do differently that would help her to feel as though?
Listen.
Okay.
Listen.
So the listening aspect, it goes back to the listening. And I think with communication, I think that's one of the things that I'll admit I'm bad about listening. You don't have to jump in and agree too quickly, because there are times when I do have a slight temper.
Well, I mean, I think it's mostly because a lot of parents think like they're like, you're up here, but we understand that you're up here and we're below here. But sometimes you gotta like come down a little bit to like understand where everything is going and what's happening.
Okay.
Oh, that was philosophical.
That was. You even had like the and everything to go along with that. So parents kind of, essentially, we just need to get off our high horse and open the doors for communication. Now, I will say one thing that I think helps me is that, like, I had parents that were polar opposites when it came to communication. So, like, I have a lot of grandma in me. So she's the one that would typically fly off the handle.
I mean, I like talking to grandma.
Well, it's different, and I've noticed this because the kind of conversations that you and grandma have, and the way that she's a different grandmother than she is a mother, and she's a different grandmother to you as the oldest grandson than she is to the
Miracle get beat up.
To the other. Don't say that on video. My mother does not beat up anybody. She does not beat up anybody. But it's different when you're a grandparent because you're not as I don't want to say you're not as involved, but it doesn't it impacts you in a different way when it's not your child. When you're a grandparent, like, you're supposed to come in there and have fun and just be able to walk away and say, okay, that's your kids, you have to deal with it.
I mean, we have a conversation at least once every 2 weeks.
Right. But what I'm saying is those type of conversations, when I was your age, we did not have those types of conversations. Like, I could not go to her and have a conversation about some of the stuff that y'all have had conversations with, because she would. But now that I think about it, my grandmother played a buffer between the two of us for a lot of things. So, and I know how my grandmother was with raising them, because that was like back in the 50s. But she played a really big buffer with me. So I guess that is when you have that relationship, and it's good to have that person in there that can play that buffer. So grandma was the one that she was the hot-headed one. So it was like she'd hear something, that was it. You were in trouble. She was yelling, blah blah blah, whatever. Granddaddy, oh my God.
I remember you said you got in trouble with Granddaddy once, and he found out that you weren't the one that did it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then he never disciplined you after that.
So my dad spanked me one time. I can remember one time that he spanked me, and it was funny because that one time that he spanked me, he really shouldn't have, and I think he felt so bad for that he never spanked me again, because it was like an accident as to what happened. But he was a talker. He is still a talker. Like, to this day, he will call me, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, am I 12 again?" Because he will just talk and talk. I remember when I first moved out, he came over to my apartment. And he didn't even come inside. He stood in my doorway and like lectured me for like 45 minutes in my own apartment. So he's that one where he used to talk, and he talked so much that you just be like, man, can you just spank me? Can we just get this over with? And he's very philosophical. He's very philosophical. And it's interesting, but he doesn't talk to y'all as much.
That's true.
He doesn't. I don't see him, when he doesn't talk to the grandchildren as much, I don't see him being like, he doesn't have those types of conversations. It could be that my sisters and I completely wore him out.
I mean, it'll be like every once in a while.
He probably doesn't even know what, like some of the things that we sprung on him between the three of us, that we probably, he's like, I don't even want to ask questions anymore because he's afraid what might be told.
I think it's like every once in a while. Like, we'll have a conversation every once in a while. But it's mainly just me and grandma. Yeah,
the two of them, which is very surprising to me because my mother was not a very open and warm type of, like, have those type of conversations with. So I'm glad and I'm thankful that you have that opportunity to have those conversations with her. And I think sometimes, though, I'll be honest, like as her child, it's something I sometimes look and I'm like, well, how come I don't have those type of conversations? Wait a minute. But she gets it. And I think some of it, though, is from experience. So I'm pretty sure the types of conversations that I have with my grandchildren years and years and years and years from now, because I do not need to be a grandmother anytime soon.
32.
That's when you're going to have kids.
32. That's okay. I hope and pray.
Father. And so I'm pretty sure that the experiences that I have will probably shape and shift how I communicate with my grandchildren, especially after I finish raising Veronica. That's my daughter. I can only imagine some of the things that she's going to put me through. And I'll probably have to revisit this communication conversation again to deal with communicating with her.
I think Granddaddy has that whole accidentally punishing people thing a lot, because Miracle got me in trouble once, and then everybody told him that it was Miracle's fault what happened, and then he took me out for ice cream.
Oh yeah. Now my dad, he's that type where and I do that too. I find that I do that too. Like he'll he'll punish you, but then he feels guilty about punishing you. So then you get a treat.
Yeah,
as
because
well.
I mean, I didn't do it because Miracle wanted to change the TV, but I had the remote and we were all watching the same channel. So she tried to take the remote and I pulled back. So she walked into the kitchen and told Granddaddy I hit her. And then came back out crying, saying, Granddaddy said you have to go upstairs and not watch TV. And then we all went upstairs except Miracle. And then all the other cousins went down and told him what actually happened. And then he took me to go get ice cream. And then Miracle had to stay in her room.
You got ice cream out of it. So back to the communication. Let's kind of stay focused here. As you snitching on your cousins on YouTube of all places. If you're watching this, Deja, sorry, it's our fault. It's his fault. When it comes to communication, what's the biggest barrier? Did I ask this already? I can't remember.
No.
What is the biggest barrier to communicating with adults in general? It could be with me, with parents, but what is the biggest barrier? Like, what is that thing that would stop you from coming to talk to your parent?
Well, with us, I think it'd be time, because from the time that I get home, I get tired around 7:30, and then I'm no longer tired by 9 o'clock. Like by 9 o'clock, I'm fully awake, unless I had like the most boring day. I'm tired by 7:30, and then I'll lay down. But then when I get back up and I take a shower and do all that, I'm awake again. But then on regular days, I think it's just because I'll hang out with Bradley and Veronica, and then I don't hang out. I don't come up here. I always stay back there, and I'll go in Bradley's room or go in Veronica's room. If you're in your room, yeah, I'll go there. But I'm just lazy.
So we went all around the world back again to come up with the fact that you just. So if I was to come to you and be more intentional about coming to you when you're just laying down and napping,
I like napping.
Would you be open to talking, or would it be like I'm invading your space in your me time, and then you'd be like, no, I don't want to talk?
No, you're not invading my space.
Well, you don't have space because it's my house, but
I mean, me time is like after 10. If I'm still
after
awake.
10 is sleep time.
Well, like on the weekends, because you don't come in my room after 10.
Because I'm asleep.
Me too. I'll either be asleep or I'm watching.
Like
TV.
I'm so shocked that it's 10:34. I'm still awake now.
I'm tired.
Okay, well, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna ask one because my goal was I wanted to be less than 30 minutes. And thank you so much to everyone that is joining in live. I appreciate you. Oh. I see. I didn't see any of these comments. Okay. I am so sorry. I didn't see any of this. Hey there, Natasha. Yeah, I have it. Okay, so Natasha said I have the tell me too much kids. My kids would rather tell me that they have done something before. Yes. And I think we have that in common, Natasha. They don't want the extra level of drama with it when it comes to that. And I think our oldest kids, they know us best because they've seen us through. Natasha and I, we had our children around the same time frame, so they've seen us through like those stages of growth as a parent. So they know what's to come, and definitely grandparents are so different. And Jamie, I can't believe I'm still awake either. So I love this question that Natasha asked. When you were doing your whole, like, you want parents to come down here, because again, as a parent, and I'm sure, I'm just saying, as a Black mama, like there's just like this cultural thing. I don't even say just as a Black mama. I think especially as a Southern Black mama. So my Southern mamas can relate to this as well, that there's that whole respect level when it comes to, parents, kids to be in kids' places, parents or whatever. And that whole, I'm not your little friend type of thing. And I will be honest though, I have my parenting style is very, very relaxed for the most part. Now there is that level of respect that has to be there. And I think my kids understand that. Like every now and then they try to kind of toe the line a little bit. And then I just have to give them the look and they realize I'm not your little friend. But we do have a lot of fun and we do laugh a lot with each other. But I think that is a really good question about, you know, when you're saying that, you know, parents need to come down here, like how far we need to come.
I mean, if you're at 10 and I'm at 5, I think you should come down to like 7.
Okay, but then are you willing? And how do we shape and frame the conversation so that if I'm at 10 and I say, okay, I'm coming down to like 7.5, what you going to do to come up to from 5 to 7.5 so that you can meet me here so that we can have the right conversation? So how is it that, you know, where's the level of responsibility and ownership? And how do we have that conversation to say, okay, I'm going to bring it down a couple of octaves, but I need you to go ahead and bring it up a few octaves and meet me here so that we can have this conversation and dialogue.
I think they need to express themselves. Like, if you're getting yelled at, you're not going to want to talk a lot. But then if you're just talking in like a normal voice, then it's going to be like, okay, we can talk then. Because if you're getting yelled at, you're getting disciplined. So you don't want to talk. You're just going to sit there and just hear what she has to say. And that's it.
And Jamie said, I think with the boys, it's a mama thing. My son will talk to me long before. Yeah, there are conversations that I have with him that he definitely would not have with his dad or stepfather. So I can get that. Okay, I get that. And but
it's because Brad's weird.
Don't say that about him. He's not.
He's weird.
So I'm a passionate talker. So do you see that as yelling?
No.
So like this morning.
Because I've been around you.
Okay. Okay, so Natasha says, yes, tone needs to be neutral. Got it. How do we get you all to make sure? Yes. So how do we get you all to make sure that the tone is already neutral when you've done something not savory? So, because they will, and I'm trying not to rise up, but you all will kind of get a little indignant sometimes. So that's like, I'm not going to give all of the circumstances around this morning, the conversation that we had. I realized I was on 10. So I was on 10 for 2 reasons, because I had to wake you up.
I was awake.
I didn't know you were awake. So here's my thing. Okay. So let's lovingly have this conversation. They will definitely get spicy. So I can't tell if he's awake in the morning. Because what happened was I can't tell if he's awake in the mornings because he keeps his door closed. And I will say, like, my son is 17 years old. Okay. He's going to be 18 in 6 months now. So that, it's the morning time, night, I let him sleep with his door closed at night. Because he's a 17-year-old boy. He's a 17-year-old boy. He can close his door. It is what it is. So there, for the most part, I try not to come barging in your room because I don't know what I might barge into because you might be in the middle of getting dressed or whatever. Like, I want to respect those boundaries. So all I have asked is, see, I hear that. I hear the tone. I hear it. It's coming up. So let me bring it back down. Let me come back down to a neutral tone. So what I have asked is that when you wake up in the mornings, to at least open your door and say, good morning, I'm up, or whatever, because you have had quite a few close calls.
I have. Because there was once I forgot to set my alarm to 7 p.m. and not a.m. and I woke up at 7:52. And when I got out, it was 8 o'clock, and 8:06 the bus pulled up.
So we've had some close calls, or he'll get up and you'll lay back down. And I totally get, and I think that's why I'm kind of extra on him, because I know I'm not a morning person. So I totally understand getting up and then you sit back down and you think that you're just going to sit there, and then you do that blink, and then that blink is like 45 minutes later. So I totally get that. But what did you say? Natasha said, I will say this though, the first year of college with my son has been refreshing, surprisingly so. Yes, there is hope. There is hope. There is hope. Yes. So that's good to know. And I think because there's some of that like realization that, oh, she wasn't crazy. She wasn't. Like, there's a reason why, they did these things that they did when they did it. So I will acknowledge that I can bring my tone down just a little bit. And then can you acknowledge, though, because we were talking about the example from this morning. So I do realize that. So I was saucy about the whole having to wake him up thing, or not knowing if he was awake. And then I was saucy about what I was yelling about. So can we agree that your reaction to it sometimes is not always the best response?
I mean, you caught me in the morning. We usually have these talks in the morning, and then I'm not an emotional person in the morning. I'm tired.
You just woke up from 10 to 12 hours of sleep. How are you tired?
You ever just wake up, you're just like, I gotta take another nap.
Oh my God. So maybe he has late start tomorrow morning. So that's why we're able to have this conversation a little bit late. So I will not wake him up and bother him tomorrow. I'll let him sleep in since he sat up and indulged me with this conversation. But he said he's going to get up and cook me breakfast. So we'll see if that happens.
I say that tonight, but when I get up,
he does that. He'll get my mouth all fixed up and ready for breakfast. And then he'll be like, yeah, no, not going to do it.
I have to like say it like, I'm going to do this the same day. Because if I don't do it the same day, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. I'm tired.
Okay, so as we're closing this out, because I think this will be a follow-up conversation that we have. I like these conversations. We have to do it again. Thank you. So Jamie says, but I mean, y'all kids can't get upset when you do something you're not supposed to, and we fuss at you for it though either. So that is the point. Because Jamie, see, I got a little bit of backup right now. Because he knew he was in the wrong and did not do what you were supposed to do. And then so what kids will do, what they do, you're soft.
I just put stuff in.
They will they give you that dumb look. But you know what though? That's that same look that my husband gives me too. So apparently it may just be a guy thing.
He's just weird.
Maybe it's a guy thing where they just give that dumbfounded look when they get busted with doing something, or they double down on their position. No matter how wrong their position is, they'll just double down on it and pretend like, try to
deny till you die.
So Jamie's saying that it may be a guy thing. So I'll have to see how this works out with Veronica.
That's what Bradley does. He denies.
Oh yeah, he does. He holds on to his. He's not, unless you have, like, you can have a picture of him doing it. He's so be like, yeah, nah, that wasn't me. Jamie says, I get the double down, deny, counter accuse. Yes, find somebody else to blame it. That is Bradley. That's my youngest son.
Yeah, he'll sit there. Either he'll blame it on me or he'll blame it on Veronica.
Like, remember that time you were about to, I was like, well, if I knew Bradley had done it, and I was like, well, I said, well, because of this, I said, I'm going to have to give Michael a spanking. And I was thinking that, threatening to give his brother a spanking, that he would own up to it and be like, well, no, Michael didn't do it.
No.
He was going to let him take that.
I'm mad at him for it.
You understand it?
Hey, well, shucks. Yeah, I do the same.
You do the same thing. Okay. Well, thank y'all so much for jumping in. I appreciate you, Jamie, Natasha, anybody else that's watching. I saw the numbers kind of fluctuating back and forth. We will make it a point to come on and have some more of these conversations in these last few months that he's here with me, because I have a senior this year. So we are preparing for graduation. I got his, Natasha, I have to send it to you. I got his cap and gown photo.
That looks nice.
Wait a minute, your oldest has convinced, oh, he's good. He's good. He's good. Jamie says her oldest has convinced his brother to take the plane before. They are. It's interesting, and I've learned though. I will say as a parent, I have learned to just let them like that bond thing that they have, because as they get older, it helps. It's a good thing to have, because then that means that they will step in and support each other and help one another. So I think that's something that I have shared with my kids, is that I want to encourage them to be there for each other, even with the fighting and fussing that they do. Because I know if push comes to shove, they have each other's back. I said, because at some point in time, you know, I'm not going to be here. I won't be here anymore, but they will still have each other. So they'll still be able to do that.
Bradley is the laziest active person.
You're not going to talk about my child like this. That's not what we're talking about.
He's lazy.
You're not talking about my
at
favorite.
The same time.
You're not talking about my favorite.
You just said he wasn't your favorite.
He is my favorite. When you start talking about him, he's my favorite. So, biggest takeaway I think from tonight. What would you say your biggest takeaway from tonight was?
Levels.
The levels.
Like, and I was finding a common ground.
I was going to say that was one of my. That's my biggest takeaway as well, is to find tone. I know I need to watch my tone, or I'm not gonna say what.
Not that.
Manage it, and just realize that when I am talking in my awake voice, my vibrant voice, that I may need to bring it down a little bit, but that to bring it down to a neutral level, but also remind you that I'm bringing it down to level 10. I need you to. I'm bringing it down to level 7.5. I need you to bring it up to 7.5 and meet me there so we can have a conversation. So let me ask this, and I'm really going to be done. Would, for like the serious, like random stuff, like you didn't wash the dishes, like that's just a regular conversation. But for the serious conversations that need to take place, having it someplace outside the house, is that better? Like to have it where instead of we're like sitting in your room or sitting in the living room and having this conversation, but like going out for a walk, or remember the people we saw at Burger King that time?
That was hilarious.
We went to Burger King, and it was an older, like she was an older woman, but she was having a very intense conversation with her mother.
She was pulling out screenshots.
It was,
text messages.
And so, but with something like that, like having it outside to really just kind of do it. Okay, so that's something else that I think that may help. So we appreciate you all for jumping in and watching. Our best talks are driving down the road, because I have to watch the road, so I can't look directly at him. I think it's less intimidating. That's a great idea, Jamie. That's a good point. A very, very good point. So you want to try to do this next week?
Sure.
Okay, so we will attempt to do this next week, Wednesday. No. What's today? Tuesday. I've been thinking it's been Wednesday all day long, y'all.
I thought it was Friday on Monday. So.
Oh, that's the worst. So we will be back next Tuesday with another mother-son conversation about communicating with our teens. We will see you all later. Thank you all so much for joining, and bye. Good night.